Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
It's not too bad. How about you?
Uh, I'm all right.
It sounded about as trepidatious as an answer as mine felt.
Yeah. I got a little flustered for a couple of reasons. I said I saw your message and I was like sat down and I was about to call and I was like, oh shoot, because I went on a walk and it's quite cold outside, so well for the south, and I had a base layer on underneath my pants. And I sat down and was like, oh no, I'm going to be too hot. If I keep this on, I'm going to get real fidgety and it's going to, like, uh, I can deal with being cold better than I can deal with being hot. Like,
Yes, I understand. Same for me.
it's like if I'm cold, I'm just like, I'm going to like try to shrink down. I mean, I guess, that's what you do. You try to like get much body parts touching other body parts to conserve heat. But like if I get hot, I'm like, uh, I might, start moving around violently, just to like I'm trying to break out of something, some like hot cocoon of some sort. It makes me think of an SNL skit with Will Ferrell where he's being born, but he's being born as a full size grown man.
I remember that skit.
It was hot in there. Oh man, I'm glad I can say that, and I like can talk to somebody who actually remembers that. So that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, so there was that, and then I sat down and because we haven't, it's been a little while since we've recorded, and I've been getting a boatload of spam calls. You weren't in my list, and I was like, I don't know how to make a phone call from FaceTime on my computer. So I ended up having to open up the contacts. Well, I thought CON would be enough in Spotlight to open up contacts, but it opened up console. I guess I opened console more recently than contacts. So there's that. So
The joys of technology. I get it though, because at this point, I don't know that I remember the steps to go through to make a FaceTime call from the Mac anyway.
well, see, like I knew I could do it from contacts. I was just like, there's got to be a way to access your contacts from the FaceTime interface, and or maybe like, can I hide all of these like calls that went straight to voicemail? They're all, I mean, it's like a boatload of red phone numbers, and uh, so, but I was trying to do it the fastest way possible, not the best way. One day I'll sort it out, and well, maybe not. I don't know, but that was
As long as it works, that's the important thing.
right. That was the story behind my answer. So, how's your ankle?
It's. I have a tough time answering it only because I don't have anything to necessarily relate it to. Um, like I think it's easier when I try to describe it as I can tell that it was, while it was not necessarily major surgery from the standpoint of like life threatening kind of thing, like, not heart surgery or anything like that, but it was major surgery for that region of the body, right? It's reconstructive surgery. And it's so, I feel like what I feel is just bits and pieces of, oh, now I feel that part of what's been done, or, oh, now I feel that part. It's not, it's what I kind of tried to convey in the text message earlier, is that it's a lot of just different sensations, none of them overwhelmingly bad, thankfully, at this point. Um, though the first, I would say, 24 to 48 hours had me really questioning whether I was going to be able to cope with the pain once the nerve block wore off. Thankfully, though, the pain management hasn't been as bad as I thought it might be. So I assume that it's just the initial trauma response is just that much more significant in general. But after we got past those first couple of days, it's just been, oh, this is now uncomfortable, or oh, now I feel like where the stitches are on that side of the foot and it's not necessarily comfortable, or oh, now my top of my foot is aching over here because it's probably been sitting in this position long enough that now I feel it. It's things like that more than anything else. So from a general day-to-day perspective, it's just, well, I can't put weight on it. So I'm having to figure out ways to move around and do things, and I didn't have anything other than crutches until today. So knee scooter and the peg leg style crutch thing showed up today. Excuse me. And both of those make trying to do day-to-day things drastically easier. For example, I can actually go get water and carry it back to the couch instead of having to rely on somebody else to carry it, because with just crutches, I didn't figure out a way to do so, you know? Um, so overall, it's more just adapting to what things are going to look like over the next 12 weeks more than like any specific pain or discomfort or anything else. So I think that's a positive. But at the same time, I'm not. Tomorrow will be when I start weaning myself off of the pain medication to be as needed instead of on a continuous time cycle. The first couple of days, it was every 4 hours on the dot. And then I extended it to 4.5 hours and then 5 hours. As of today, it's every 6 hours, which is kind of the normal, take as needed time frame. And so I'll take it overnight on the 6 hour mark. But then tomorrow, after I get up, I'm going to try to extend it a little bit longer and just see how things feel. Just because I don't like staying on painkillers anyway. But I think that will also give me a better idea of what management looks like going forward as the first few weeks of healing occur. And then honestly, I don't expect much of a change until the first follow-up, which is not until the 22nd. But that's when stitches should come out and the bandages finally be removed, and that'll be the next kind of milestone for something different happening.
Yeah. It's so underneath the band. Yeah. Okay. So that all makes sense.
So right now there's a fiberglass splint that runs from just below the knee all the way down underneath the ankle and underneath the foot. And so, go ahead.
Was it one that was thermomolded?
I have no idea. I didn't see it beforehand, so I know it's there. That's about the extent of my knowledge of it. But then it's wrapped really well with multiple layers, apparently, because my ankle, if I look down, it looks like I have two ankles instead of one, just because of how wide it is. And so I know it's relatively well protected for good reason, but I don't really know what things look like underneath. So I know the procedure itself, there were questions about exactly to what extent things would have to be done going into it. So we knew from the MRI that the posterior tibial tendon was ruptured and would have to be weaved together with an adjacent tendon to make it all, in effect, one piece, and to keep it from rupturing. But the length of the incision and how far up they would have to go and down, all of that was dependent on what they found when they got in there. So I don't really know what length of tendon was repaired, whether we're talking, a couple of inches or significantly more. After the tendon repair, there was something with the heel. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it has to do with adjusting the biomechanics of the foot. And then after that, if it was needed, there was another thing that had to be done toward the the arch on the inside of the ball area. Not actually on the bottom, it's on the top, but it's something in that area. Whether that would have to be done was completely dependent on how things looked when they got to that point. I do know that whatever that was had to be done as well. And all of these answers on exactly what was done, I'll get the full breakdown at my follow-up appointment. I just didn't bother trying to understand it all beforehand because I knew I wasn't going to remember it.
Not going to remember it, and also they did. before the surgery, obviously they didn't know exactly what was going to be involved, and
Right.
I'm
There
sure
were certain pieces that were
after the
dependent
surgery,
on other pieces. Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so like I know the surgeon told Emily afterwards that yes, they did end up having to do the other thing too. It's just I don't remember exactly what the other thing was.
And when's your first follow up visit with Doc?
The 22nd. So 2.5 weeks total from surgery to first follow up.
And then if I'm remembering correctly, it was is it 12?
Correct.
12 weeks, no pressure?
Correct.
Oof.
Which is why, like, the knee scooter and the other crutch thing really are more quality of life for once the stitches and all are out, being able to pick and choose what makes it easier to move around for different circumstances. Prior to them being out, so like the knee crutch thing has straps that go across the thigh, the knee, and then lower on the calf. And while I don't think it would even has the potential to shift anything more or in a way that would be problematic, I just don't want to risk it. I don't have a reason that I have to be that mobile over the next couple of weeks. I'll just wait till the follow-up to start being more and more mobile. I can make do with stuff around the house with crutches and with the scooter. Um, so but I do see where after that, once it's just a matter of keeping weight off and letting everything heal, that like peg leg crutch thing, they call it the eye walk. But that will be very beneficial. It's definitely a lot easier than using crutches specifically.
Yeah, I sprained my ankle once when I was a teenager, and I opted to hobble around instead of use crutches, and it was for like a day. But 12 weeks is a significantly longer time than a day. But the eye is eye walk, you said?
Yeah, eye walk is what the brand was that I purchased.
Now, does that also convert to a scooter, or is it only the peg leg?
It's only the peg leg.
Okay, and the scooter's a different device.
Right. And so I ordered it's technically a knee rover, I think is what they call it, because it has big all-terrain wheels. But I did that intentionally because I figure if I'm going to be out and about and I don't really know what to expect, I would like to have that available and not have to worry about whether it's going to be uneven terrain, because with those big wheels, I'm good.
It'd probably be better off-road than a Cybertruck.
Definitely.
Hey-oh, no.
And the biggest thing for me was just give me all of the mobility options so that I can just pick and choose what makes sense on any given day.
Yes, yeah. So how is the peg leg, the eye walk?
I only used it for a couple of minutes just because I didn't want to risk rubbing the splint or anything, since it does strap across that at one part of the leg. But just in my brief test, it was a lot easier to use than I expected. And going upstairs was really easy. Going downstairs is going to take some trial and error and playing with, because what I was having to do, I was having to stand on tiptoes on my good foot and step down with that one and then move the peg leg down. And I'm pretty sure there's a better way to do it. But walking upstairs was easy with it.
Nice. Well, I'm glad surgery went well. I'm glad you've got options to get around. I know, I was just thinking about you said, you can't even get a glass of water to take, you take to the couch while you've got crutches on. So, how much has Jacob asked to use the peg leg at this point?
None yet. So it didn't come until today. It only came today, and we were pretty clear about, look, while I am dependent on these are not toys. So you can probably play with them later, but right now I'm going to tell you can't even touch them.
Preemptive conversation, yeah.
And I mean, he's good with it. He recognizes it. He's been really good at helping and paying attention and grabbing things and all. We don't ask him to do a whole lot necessarily day to day. And so his willingness to jump in and help just because he sees the need means I think we're doing something right.
Yeah, for sure.
I can tell you I'm already ready for this to be over, though.
Oh, I don't doubt it. But
um,
I just, when you were saying that, and giving all the time estimates and expectations, I was like, yeah, muscle and, I think, tendon is, I guess the softer the tissue is, the faster it grows. And you can think about, I think I would, when uncontracted, I would expect that, obviously tendons and ligaments are a more, I don't know if dense is the right word, but definitely a more tough tissue, a more, like bones take the longest, and tendons and ligaments, and then muscle. And then you think about, like, you bite the inside of your mouth. I did that earlier this week, and pretty bad. And it's like, it only takes a few days for it to heal. Even if it's you get a good chomp in, because it's, that soft tissue just heals so quickly.
yeah, it's been real interesting having feeling come back and kind of seeing. So let me back up ever so slightly. One, I didn't realize they were going to do a nerve block, but it definitely makes sense. Like when they mentioned it, I was not surprised. It just hadn't been mentioned prior to that. But what's interesting about it is that it gave me a chance, as it wore off, to really be very, very aware of the different things that I felt. Because like I could, over the course of the 24-ish hours post surgery, I could feel more and more pieces of the foot ache going from, I guess technically from the knee out toward the foot, as feeling came back in that general direction. And so there was a bit where it's like, oh, I feel that tendon, like in the back of the leg there. Like I feel that it's done, something's been done to it because it aches and it doesn't normally ache. And then feeling the ankle itself, that region on the inside hurting a little bit, which I assume is related to the tautness of the tendon being there. And the same thing with the bottom of the foot, because this tendon is what controls or keeps the arch in the foot and controls that stability, and is also responsible for being able to push with the front of the foot. And feeling that start to ache where it has not been, just all the different pieces. It's like, okay, I can feel how invasive this was overall. I knew it in my mind, but I didn't really register until all the different pieces of feeling came back. And I just found that to be kind of fascinating. Uncomfortable at the time for sure, but fascinating.
Yeah, it'd be probably even more enjoyable if it was somebody else and not you.
And it'd be a lot more enjoyable if it were just all done magically and I didn't have to go through uh, but it's still, throughout all of this, the big two things I keep coming back to that make it more manageable is, one, I'm in decent shape. I'm not like a lot of patients that would be having some type of, surgery on a joint or a tendon or something. I can get around. Like, worst case scenario, I can hobble like bear crawl kind of thing and just keep a leg up in the air. Like, I'm in good shape to be able to manage what this looks like. So that's one. That's a big positive. And then two, I, either way, even if this had been done previously or if I somehow, for whatever reason, postponed it a bit, I'm still looking at the same thing and the same recovery. It's just probably a better recovery time frame now than it would be in a few years if I were to make it that far. And so it's, none of it is necessarily positive, but it's positive that it's not a worse situation to be in, I guess, is the way I keep looking at it.
Right, right. I can see that.
And it's helped quite a bit from the standpoint of forcing me to do some of the stuff that I had been needing to do. For example, I mentioned today I was kind of pushing hard to get a version of the app released because it's the last, for the,
I saw that.
as far as I know, it's going to be the last data set model changes, which should eliminate any further frustrations on other things that are tied to it. And it just took me having time on my hands to sit down and do it. And so, in 4 days roughly, because I didn't do anything 3 days, because I didn't do anything at all really the first 24 hours. So in 3 days, battling, dozing off and maneuvering through the painkillers and kind of working on things as I could focus on them, up to kind of being antsy and ready to get it done yesterday and today. And like, that's done. I have a few tweaks I still want to do and some cosmetic stuff, but like, it's in a fully fledged out feature complete state as far as I know, which is
Is
phenomenal.
it in the App Store yet?
Yes.
Okay.
So it officially launched with the single martial art type and not having most of the other functionality on January 2nd. And so, knowing that it was available as of the 2nd, it's once I had, a little bit of kind of focus and clarity post-surgery, it's like, ooh, if I hustle, I can get this done and I don't have to worry about potential migration issues if people decide to get the app, if I go ahead and just knock it out. And so, 5 days later, I get the official version updated on the App Store to be the version that's currently in test flight.
Awesome. I noticed that you can add more. You can add whatever. You can customize whatever workout you're doing, or the type of martial art that you're practicing.
Yep. And I have a couple of different belt systems designed for the differences in the way certain belts look, and all that framework is there for me to add additional ones with very little headache. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
You are now a developer.
And unless I have 3 tweaks that I already have planned for a test flight bump. None of them are major. All of them are just kind of aesthetic changes. But assuming that holds, that I don't find something else, then we're at a stable, I don't really need to touch it unless I decide to add a feature release, which is kind of phenomenal for being so young on the App Store.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just tells me it's time for you to start working on the Mac app. I
have a different iOS app that I want to do before I start venturing into possibly doing Mac apps. So this one you could technically run on an Apple Silicon Mac. I did not put any restrictions in place. I just didn't test it on it either. And so iPad or Apple Silicon, you might encounter some issues. I tried to make it platform friendly across the board without a problem, but I did not spend any effort debugging anything other than iPhone specific problems. So that's the current state.
If you load it onto a Mac or iPad, do you get any sort of notification saying, "Hey, this is, I'll let you use it here, but it's not tested"?
Nothing that I do, but I because I did not explicitly define those as targets, I think on the App Store pages it shows works but not developed for, or something like that.
Okay.
Whatever the Apple verbiage is, I left all of that however they denote it, if they denote it. Because honestly, I intentionally did everything in Swift and Swift UI that I possibly could. So it should be fairly platform agnostic anyway. Like I spent a lot of effort trying to make sure it didn't care to the extent possible.
Awesome.
Definitely not a bad place to be. Now I get to rework the marketing materials and see if I can't sell some copies.
Yeah. Awesome. I see it on the App Store now.
Yeah, I still got to figure out if that's the price point that I want to put it at. Like I have it discounted through the end of February, so it's $9.99 right now. Technically, it goes up to $24.99 at full price. I don't know if I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with $9.99. What I don't know is if I'm gonna have it go up to $24.99 or if I'm gonna reevaluate what the top end is. This is one of those areas where I don't have a good feel for current App Store economics and the market for this particular app.
Right. Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I don't. The App Store is. I don't know. I don't know how to.
Yeah, my thought process was one of those things where most of the apps out there that are competitors feel either very restrictive, like I mentioned, the one I was using just didn't suit my needs. I couldn't find anything after the fact. There was no search, no data filtering, no, just a lot of stuff that wasn't present. So it didn't work for me for anything other than tracking number of hours, which is fine. It did a good job of that, but that's it. And other alternatives that I've looked at generally have been either subscription or free, but if they're free, they fall into the category of the first one. And if they're subscription, they're generally in the $1 to $2 a month range, which puts you at $24 by the end of the year. It's like I just don't want to do a subscription. I don't like subscriptions for this kind of app. I really don't. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. I offer a lot more with this app than what those other apps offer, as far as you keep your data. I mean, it's yours. I don't stop you from having access to it or anything else. You don't. I'm not limiting you to only tracking jujitsu, which is what all the others do. You can track whatever you want. You just have to also define jujitsu because of how I started the app. But you don't have to actually use it. You can use all the functionality without touching it again. And so I feel like the value proposition is there, but I also realize there's probably not a lot of people that have the same approach to it that I do either. And so I think the value is there for tracking either jujitsu or another martial art or multiple. I just don't know how many people really do that to the extent that I do. And we'll see. I'm going to learn what the market looks like. And I know a couple of people at the gym were interested, and I haven't talked to them again since having it up and available. But if they want to take a look at it, I'm happy to let them join the beta and try it that way. And then if they decide they like it, they can buy a copy.
Yeah. I was trying to see if the App Store links to your website.
It does if you choose the developer, because I know the privacy policy is linked, and I think there's a link for marketing material, which I have just taken to the website. Though to be fair, I haven't looked up at the App Store listing in a bit either. So
I like this. App privacy. The developer, Jesse Hart, indicated that this app's privacy practices may include handling of data as described below. Data not collected.
Yep. Yeah, if you click on developer's privacy policy, it takes you to the one that I sent you on the website.
Oh, yeah. And it takes, yes. I like it. It's simple. I do not collect or want your information in any way. Enjoy. Well, good. This is now a thing.
And
good thing you have a podcast already.
Yeah. And I can tell you that I just installed the app on my Apple Silicon device, and it did launch. So there's at least basic functionality.
At the end of the day, at this point, it's like, hey, I want a Mac app. It's like, okay, open up iPhone. What is it? iPhone mirroring. There's your Mac app.
Yeah, it does look like it may not actually set things properly on the Mac app, though. Like, it looks like the data store thing is potentially problematic. So I might investigate that in the future, but not immediately.
That is not high on a priority list, I don't think.
No, not at all. I can't think of anybody I've ever seen who brought their laptop into class and took notes on it after the fact. It's always either a phone or pen and paper.
Yep. Only thing I can think of, like, the only value I can see is like, oh, I want to look at a bunch of stuff on my computer, not more as a reader or a viewer, consuming the data rather than inputting.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I see a potential use for it. Just because one of the things that I'm debating doing is a roadmap piece, which I may or may not do. You know how you can add a technique to an entry and then you can view those techniques in the settings view and filter them. I'm debating if you want to create a reference for that technique, that it puts a global entry for that reference above the list of the entries that were tagged with that technique so that you could create a reference file specifically for it that's not tied to having to go find it in a journal, not tied to a specific class, but is your specific reference for that technique. I can see some value in it. I can also see some value in making me go back and read all the different notes I put in about that technique over time. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do it, but those are the kinds of things that if I do it, it does seem like it would make a lot of sense to have it visible on a Mac app as well from a just learning and reflection standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So there's a chance. I have not committed or non-committed either way to that one.
I feel like I have my questions I'm going to ask you are going in reverse order as we go back in time. But how was your holiday?
It was good. I just realized we haven't talked about that either. Time has been very warped over the past couple of weeks.
It always does get that way during the holidays.
Well, and on top of it, we were proactive in getting episodes recorded and in the pipeline and all, and so there's been no pressure, and so it's just whirlwind of stuff. But yeah, it was good. The cabin was great. I was surprised at how much damage and how little damage at the same time we saw throughout Asheville, but we intentionally did not try to go searching out the hardest hit areas either. And so what I mean by that is there were a lot of places where you could see flooding and water damage, or where pieces of road had been washed away and stuff like that, trees down, or bent over, or things that you would expect from a major storm like that. But it also was kind of nice to see that it wasn't as destructive everywhere as it maybe could have been. I don't know of a better way to describe it.
Well, it's the difference between like man-made destruction, like a bomb. It levels everything in a radius, whereas natural events aren't necessarily that way.
Right. And so while we saw a lot of damage, most of what we saw was more just damage in natural areas where cleanup was the big deal, more so than like destruction of buildings, even though I know plenty of buildings were destroyed in other areas. Like, I don't want to make it sound like there wasn't any, because I know there was. It's just the areas that we were in, while they were hit hard by the storm, they were not hit as hard by structure damage as they were just, this section of the road got wiped away and had to be recreated for travel to actually be possible, or this person's driveway completely washed away and so had to be recreated for them to get in and out of their property, things like that. So it was interesting. But outside of that, it was really nice to see just the area in general. It's the first time I've spent time in Asheville, and the mountain views were gorgeous. It was overcast pretty much the entire time. We only had one day with actual clear skies to see a sunrise. But even with that, the way the fog drifted through the valley that we had overview from for the cabin looked great. It was very enjoyable and relaxing. Really clear skies, as far as at night looking up at the stars. Other than there was one night that was really overcast, so not the entire time. But generally speaking, still really good star views. The Biltmore estate was a lot more interesting than I thought it might be, though I probably would have not cared as much had it not been decorated for the holidays. I think that added a more enjoyable aspect to it, walking through a fancy mansion. But the grounds were still enjoyable to walk around, and I can imagine they would look phenomenal in spring, because they were very well taken care of anyway. Outside of that, it was mostly just kind of a relaxing trip for a change, which was very much needed. The So I don't know if I mentioned it before we went. When I booked this cabin, they made a point of calling out there are about 40 steps from the driveway up to the cabin. So if you have, mobility issues, may not be the cabin for you. Well, when I booked it, it was a few months ago. I didn't have mobility issues. And I decided, you know what, I could reschedule, I could find something else, but I think it looks okay. Like it's going to be maybe more difficult than I want, but it looks okay. And so after we got there and hauled everything up, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I'm not having to go up and down these steps a lot. It was definitely a workout in that walking boot, but it wasn't that bad. I just had to take them kind of slow. That was it.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for you today, now.
No, not at all.
Jeez. Oof.
And the hot tub was great. It was a saltwater hot tub.
Oh, cool. I know I've been in saltwater pools before, but hadn't thought about them being in hot tubs as well. But it makes sense.
Yeah, I knew they had to exist, but I had never been in one, and it is by far superior in my opinion, and I will definitely be looking for that to be a differentiator going forward. Like I could potentially reschedule another trip to this cabin just because we've only done Asheville once, and just not choose another cabin and go back to this one just because of the saltwater hot tub.
Nice, nice. So I guess the overcast was why I haven't seen any drone shots.
I just have been lazy and haven't pulled everything out
Okay.
of the bags. So I did take a few drone shots. I didn't take as many because it was really windy as well, and the drones were struggling. They were getting pushed around a bit.
That's got to be really windy because we I took Luke and Jude out on a relatively windy day. Maybe not a windy day, but there was enough wind, and we took that little Mavic Air out, and it did great. I was really impressed with how well it did.
Yeah, if I had not been challenged with the boot, I would have been
Yeah,
less concerned because my thought was, well, if it does go flying, I'm gonna recover it, and that's gonna be a
right,
nightmare with where we
right,
were because
right.
it was just a steep drop off everywhere. Um,
Gotcha.
and so it was more a matter of I just don't need to risk it, not for this. So I did take a few good shots. I just haven't pulled them off the memory card yet. I figured I will do that after I got the app release. So when we got back when we got back, it was finished prepping everything in the house for surgery and getting decorations put away. But then, getting home for surgery, it was like, all right, I could pull stuff over, but I have some things I'm going to do that I need to work on photography wise as well. That I want to do all that at the same time. So let me do app release first. Once is out the door, then I can dedicate time to the photography things I want to do over the next couple of weeks. And then after that, I've got one other just general thing that I've been looking at that I'm going to explore. But the photography thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to mention it here because it will be potentially of interest as well. I'm going to set up a integration with Printique specifically because I use them for printing anyway, my own personal prints. And I'm going to set it up where you can order art prints of some of my stuff through the website, and Printique will directly print and ship. But I'm
Oh,
going to
cool.
do a selection of prints on, I think, metal and canvas. I don't know for sure. I need to look at all the options. That's some of the exploration I'm going to do. But I want to offer that as an additional component of my business. So
That's really cool. I like that.
I'm hoping it works well. So I've used them for printing for I don't know, probably about 6 years now. It's been a while. So I trust their printing without a problem. I can send it the way I want it from a color perspective. They won't touch it. They'll print it exactly how I have it tweaked, or I can tell them, hey, I want you to adjust this one, and they'll do whatever they normally do. Um, but print quality is great. So I don't know if you remember the canvas that's over the fireplace in the living room, but that was a shot I took in Ireland that I had them print on canvas.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I'm going to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I want to explore 3 different materials, and I don't know if they offer all of them, so I'm not going to necessarily say them all yet. But the predominant 2 that I want to explore are canvas, obviously, because I have experience with it directly. And I want to see if they print on metal. I really like the idea of a really high contrast art print on metal if it's something that they offer. And so I'm going to investigate that.
Had you ever ordered any? The closest thing that I've thought about something like this, or was fracture prints.
I've not ordered from them directly, so I did order something similar for Brad and Sonia when I did their photos, and I ordered it from Printique. And I think it was metal. It might have been glass. That's the part that I don't remember because it's been a while. But they did a really great job with it, and even Brad commented about how nice it looked. And I just never even thought about it again until recently when we were walking around in Asheville. We went into a couple of different of the artist like group shops where you have all the different local artists putting stuff up to sell. And I saw a couple of people who were doing their photography prints as art, and it's like I've thought about this a number of times, and I've never actually done it. I think it's time that I actually do it while I know that I have downtime sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, I have a few fractures. I have 3 small ones. I think the smallest ones they have, and I like them. They're pretty cool. But I'm curious about this because I've been. Even though we've lived in this house for 2 years, it doesn't. I don't feel like. I don't think. I think since I've been an adult, I've never felt like I've never really settled, and I have never really felt the need to do too much decorating. And I can look back and I can think of I lived in my last house for 6 years, and I can think about like all the things I wish I'd done there that I didn't do, and now I'm thinking about like, okay, when I leave this house, because I don't expect to stay here forever, what am I gonna wish that I had done while I was here? And so I've been thinking about that, and so, and part of that being artwork. So that's good to know about Printique. Is it like antique but print at the front?
It is. So it used to be, okay. What was it? So it's an Adorama company. I know you're familiar with Adorama as far as the photo video store, right?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place it right now.
It's one of those where when you see it, you've run across it before. But it used to be, I think it was Adorama Prints, or it might have been something else similar. They rebranded to Printique, but it's still an Adorama company. And so I've used them. Well, I've used Adorama for a long time anyway. So there's a familial relationship in general, but almost everything that I've printed specifically for use in the house, like even the gallery wall prints that we had at Clubview that we haven't put back up, and other photos that we've printed and put in frames, all of those have been done via Printique. And so I'm a big fan of their work, and part of it's because they have a lot of different options. Like you can do matte or glossy prints. They had I haven't looked at real recently, but they had silk prints, which is just a different texture for general photo paper, but it does give a little bit of a different look. All sorts of little things that can really, really make a photo pop, especially if you know all the different options. And so I generally recommend them for anybody that wants to get photos printed, whether it's big, small, doesn't matter. Just I've been completely pleased with their print lab quality, whether you are doing it professionally or just, hey, I have this picture that I want to send to a printer and get a good copy.
Oh, well, next time I'm over at your place, I'd like to see some of those, some of the prints that you have on the different materials.
One of the things I'm hoping to do, and this is what I've got to explore, I want to create like a sample pack that somebody could order too, where it's like 3 or 4 different prints of the different styles. So, and it's, small, so it's not going to be something that you'd want to necessarily use as artwork, but something that somebody could order relatively inexpensively so that they can get something physical in their hands that says, oh, I really do like the way canvas looks if it's like this, or I like, metal like this, that kind of thing. Um, Again, I have to explore all that. I don't even know what options are available to me. It would not surprise me if the only options I have are to do normal uh, photo paper prints through this integration. If so, then I will look at doing other ways of achieving my end goal. But we'll see. That's that's my next order of business while I'm sitting on the couch over the next few days.
Nice.
So I think I've talked an awful lot. How was your holiday? How are things going in general on your side of the woods?
It was good. I took a lot of time. I took a lot of time off. I took I think 10 days off, 10 work days, or 8 work days. I don't know. Enough where I like even pretty early on in the time off, I was like, I couldn't remember what day it was, because it's like the kids were off from school. I was off. Becca was, her work is really light in December. Like that's her lightest month because folks are not, people are either taking some trips, but nobody's planning trips in December. Yeah, I don't think there was anything planned in December. She just had to, like here's this thing and here's that thing. She had a group trip that was in New York, and I think they sent her a message like, "Hey, we don't have our tickets for like." I think they were going to the top, the Empire State Building, and she was like, "Nope, they're right there." And she had to talk to them about that, but that's about it. It's all family, and we had a good holiday. Had a good time. Went out with the kids here and there. I got to. I did I did a few day hikes, and I used the Peak Design outdoor bag, and I like it. When I got it, I was even when I saw it on the website, when I saw the Kickstarter, I was like, I had some reservation, but I was like, I really know I like this. I like pretty much everything else that they've made that I've ever gotten, a lot, and so let me see. And then when I got it and looked at it, and I was like, I don't know. And so I was like, give it a go. Because like worst case scenario, I think I can make my money. I could get pretty much all my money back if I put it on their used store. Because I'll be like, I decided I didn't like it or whatever. So, but no, I do like it, and I don't know if I could do an overnight trip with it, but that's because I'm a stickler for not strapping things to the outside of the bag. So
that makes sense. So my card was billed finally for shipping, so I assume that means that I'll be getting my stuff.
Oh, you're still waiting?
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
Well, you had a big order.
It wasn't that big, but it did include an additional camera cube, just because I needed the flexibility to move around instead of having just the one that I'm using and having to unload and move stuff. Like I needed one other one available for my assortment of bags. And then I did go ahead and do the outdoor sling as well. And so it was 2 outdoor packs.
Right. What colors did you get?
I don't remember.
I think I asked you, but I don't remember. Okay. Well, if you told me, I also don't remember.
Yeah, so I know the sling, I got did they call it stone or ghost or whatever the whitish color
white
was? Yeah. So the sling I did get in white. I remember that. What I can't remember is I think I got the backpack in black, but I don't know for sure.
I don't think I've gotten personally a bag for myself that's not black.
So my favorite, surprisingly, has been do you remember the collaboration with
the coyote?
Yeah, the brown bags.
Yeah,
I really like those. I'm glad I ordered them, and I'm normally not a big fan of brown bags, but those look really, really good.
Yeah, I am not a fan of brown bags either. maybe a darker brown I could do.
I still do really like the sage in the travel backpack and the duffel bag. And I always like the classic black, but the sage has been a color that I've been surprised I liked. And I think it's just because a lot of times black shows dirt so quickly. Like I don't seem to have that problem with the sage or the brown. Not that I care too much either way, but they just don't seem to show the wear and all as quick as the black does.
Oh, I see. I have several black bags, and I really like the black. I don't know. I kind of wish that. Well, and I understand why they don't. There'd be too many SKUs and probably not enough demand for it. But I kind of wish you could choose other colors with. So the black is the only one with the hypalon accents, and everything else. I'm thinking of the everyday bag in general, but I think most of the things follow this. But everything else has leather accents, and I would really like to have like either a blue bag or a charcoal. Which one's charcoal is darker than that's the darker gray, I think.
Yes.
I would be interested in one like that if you could get the hypalon accents instead of the leather accents. Not that I'm opposed to leather. I would prefer the black over the brown.
I mean, everybody has their preferences.
Yeah.
I do. I still think the charcoal color for the messenger that I've got is the best color, hands down. Like just with the assortment of bags I have, the ones that I like and everything else, the charcoal bag is my favorite without any comparison. But surprisingly, that Coyote collaboration, that brown, has become kind of my second favorite.
Oh, okay.
Now, I like all of them a lot, so I'm biased anyway. Like I like the ash, I like the sage, I like the black. All of them look good in general to me, but
it's like I can't choose a favorite child. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.